Welcome back to the channel. I'm Traben, and in today's video, we're looking at Curious Tides, which, at a whopping 520 pages, is the longest Barnes & Noble YA book club title I've read so far. Is this the start of a new fantasy epic, or is brevity truly the soul of wit? Stick around to find out. As is the trend with a lot of these Barnes & Noble YA titles, this is a debut novel from a new author, and I'm very impressed with the magic system within this story. It's the first thing introduced in the book, and really the highlight of the story as a whole. The magic system really is both the best and worst thing about this title. So to get an understanding of how it works, there are five houses, all based on the phases of the moon. So you have the full moon, you have the new moon, you have waxing moon and waning moon. And within each of those four, there are different abilities given to individuals based on the tides. So as an example, if you are House New Moon and you are Rising Tide, you might be a healer, or you might be a shadow guide, someone who can see through the veil and look into other worlds or the afterlife. And this entire system is introduced to you within the first few pages. There's just a listing of what the different houses are, what the different tides are, all the different abilities that it grants people. And it just seems like a really fun and really cool concept for a story. Unfortunately, there's a lot that goes wrong even within this system. Since we've already covered the way that magic works within this world, let's talk about some of the ways that the author handles this that I feel are to the story's detriment. So, generally speaking, your power is only supposed to work when the moon is in phase with whatever you were born under, right? So if you are in new moon and you're a healer, you can only heal while the new moon is out, or at least your powers are the strongest there. But the author has a way of people getting around this. That you can do this like bloodletting, where you cut your hand within salt water, and something about the tides and the water activates your ability, and you can use it to a lesser degree outside of your phase, right? And that's okay, but you've already started taking away something that was intriguing and a limit to people's power. And instead of playing with that limit, instead of having that be something that is a source of conflict, you've given characters an out for using that ability. In addition to that, there are these synthetic drugs essentially that are being developed in this world that can allow you to have just anybody's power, just whatever you want. You're a healer, you want to do something else, you want to be able to breathe underwater, cool, we'll get you someone's power. Just take this pill or whatever it was, and you can get that ability too. And so it's just another way that we take this very cool system and we water it down. And I know it sounds like I'm focusing just on the magic system, but quite honestly, the magic system is the focus here, not really the characters. I mean, sure, the characters go through events, they go through motions, but there are scenes in here that make it very obvious that it's the magic system that's on center display. There is a parade at one point where everyone's just using their powers to show off, and there's these long descriptions of the different houses and the way that their float in this parade is creating flowers, and then they're sparking into things, and it's all very cool, but it's also very obvious that it's the author kind of showing off the way their system works. The last bit of issue with the magic system is one of our principal characters, Emory. Emory discovers, and this is a big spoiler for this book, Emily discovers that she is a tide caller, I believe is what she terms, or some call them a tide thief. And what can tide thieves do? Any magic they want, of course. So again, we've taken this magic system that has all these different groups, these different individuals, and we've just given all the powers to our main character. And I really feel like it lessens the impact of them. There is some conflict with Emory trying to learn how to use the other powers because up until this point in her life, she has thought that she was just a healer. And so learning to use these different magics, they study all the magic, of course, they go to a magic school, they study all the magic, but like again, if you only had one kind of magic, would you care about how other people do their magic? No, right? So she has to go and learn, like, okay, if I want to go into someone's dreams, what does that actually entail? How do I not, die from that and like drift off into this endless dreamscape plane? And so that's fun. That's interesting. But I really feel like a lot of the cool concepts with this magic system as it's initially presented are kind of smoothed over with these various ideas. And so I wanted to highlight the magic system first because I do think it's really cool. And it was what held a lot of my interest throughout the book. Um, that parade scene was a lot of fun. It was cool to see how all the magic worked together and how people like using their powers in tandem could do different things. But ultimately, I feel like something could have been done with this system, something could have been done with this story that was more based on like teamwork, cooperation, or with dealing with the fact that your power can't always be as strong. And so like how do you navigate that? How do you work on that? But I mean, I can't really judge a book based on what I want it to be. So let's talk about what this book actually is. So we've got two perspective characters here. We've got Emory and we've got Baz. I feel like Emory's got the bulk of the story. She is witness to something, and it's not really clear at the beginning what exactly happens. But this group of kids go into this cave system that is known to flood and known to kill people, and something happens, and a lot of them end up dead, and Emory is the only one who survives. And the story picks up when she's heading back to school after like their summer break, essentially. And so like everyone's a little wary of her because she survived this event when all these other people didn't, and nobody knows what actually happened. Her investigating that, finding this secret society within the school that's somehow connected with this ritual is really the heart of the book. Baz's story deals with a lot more of a personal thing. Emory had a friend who is presumed dead. And so that's her like personal connection to what was happening. But with Baz, his story really is like with his family, and his father was locked up because one of the things that I hadn't mentioned is that the Eclipse Born are considered dangerous. They all reach a point where their magic goes haywire, and as far as anybody knows, the story is like once that happens, they can't ever come back. And so his father has had his magic taken away because he lost control, and he's in a magical prison, basically. Baz's story did not necessitate a second perspective character. he adds very little to the scenes that he and Emory are both in. And I feel like the things that he discovers could have been folded into Emory's story. This would be a much shorter read, much more in line with the other YAs that I've read recently, like 300, 350 pages. And I don't think it would have lost that much. There is a bit at the end where it seems like they're going to work together, and Baz is like, oh, I need to get to this place in time before something happens. He doesn't get there in time to stop what he wants to stop. And then he doesn't really do much once he gets there. Emory kind of takes care of it, and then Baz is around to be like, okay, well, I guess like I'll, stand here and just like guard this person. And so I don't feel like his his perspective was a necessary one. Emory, her story is central to the plot of the overall book, and so I would want her to be the one perspective character to remain. I feel like there are still problems with her character. She very quickly falls for a person that is obviously not someone she should be trusting. She immediately like falls in with this group and begins to trust them, begins to make these decisions. And again, it could be seen as like a character flaw, but like it could be seen as like we know that she is falling into the same trap that her friend fell into. But I feel like there are scenes within this book that are really trying to make you think like this other love interest is someone that she's going to end up getting with and is someone that you can trust. And at no point did I trust this guy. There were so many red flags. And then that further complicates her and Baz's relationship, which is the one that seems like it's going to develop into something more as the series goes on. I think this might just be a 2-book deal, a duology, but it seems at the end of the book that it's Baz and Emory that are going to ultimately end up together. This is complicated by a couple of things. Number one, Emory doesn't have a very good handle on people. She trusts too easily, and I don't feel like she knows what she wants in a relationship or knows how to navigate that interpersonal connection because of what happened with the other character in the story. Moreover, even worse, there are parts where Emory is like, I'm going to say this to Baz because that will emotionally manipulate him into doing what I want him to do. What? Like, how am I supposed to at any point like be on the side of a character that's doing that? And that's not hyperbole. That is something that is expressly stated multiple times in this book. I'm going to do this because I know that it's going to make him feel bad, so he does this for me. Okay? So that's a problem. That is deeply problematic, especially if you're going to try to get me to buy into this relationship further into the book. It does not work on any level. And so I'm upset about this one. The concept is so cool. The magic system is a lot of fun. I don't feel like the execution was there. I feel like the characterization was decent, but muddled in the way that it was, the way the interactions work. I feel like the plot was fine. It was kind of a somewhat of a mystery, but the investigation part of it took way too long. And again, I think that could be trimmed down by just getting rid of that secondary character. Um, Ultimately, this landed at a 3 for me. I had fun with it. I liked seeing the magic. I liked, again, this like the parade scene was fun. And I think it highlighted what this world could have been, and like talked about, like really opened up what was happening, like a larger view of this campus. But the plot that we decided to follow, the plots we decided to follow, were not gripping me. The characters were not compelling in most cases and were frustrating in a lot of ways. And so ultimately, yeah, 3 stars. I would pick it up if you want to just see an exploration of a really cool magic system, but definitely not for the plot, definitely not for the characters. Now I'd like to hear what you think. If you've read Curious Tides, please drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear them. I'd like to get some different perspectives on this book. If you enjoyed this video, take a look at a few others. So I have one here discussing last month's YA book club, Those We Drown, and then the previous month with Zara. I hope your reading journey is going well, and until the next one, take care.